All right, everybody, this is the Baseball HUD, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the HUD. Welcome back to the Baseball HUD 2. And hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button so, as you know, the teams in Major League Baseball, everybody's sort of been inconsistent, up and down, very much. There's no super teams. There's really been no super teams in the last 2 years. I don't have a problem with it, but there is an article out there from Outkick that talks about it. Now, the Mets look like they're going to probably go to postseason. They could do pretty much anything they want. I mean, they could get knocked out in the first round, or they could win the World Series. I would mention that Dodgers lost on Saturday 2-1 to the Orioles. They really struggled. They get swept by the Pirates, and they lost the first game in Baltimore on a walk-off, amazingly. Tanner Scott gave it up, coughed it up in the ninth inning. They might not make the playoffs. And they spent a lot of money the last few years to get themselves to be that super team. And they won the World Series last year. Maybe this is sort of a comeuppance or sort of a who knows what. But Outkick did this article. I thought it was interesting. MLB has already achieved parity. There aren't any good teams this year. League headed for second straight season without 100-win team, despite record spending by multiple franchises. Well, we know one franchise has spent a ton of money. When the Los Angeles Dodgers signed Blake Snell, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, and Roki Sasaki to join Shohei Ohtani in the offseason, fans of opposing teams rushed to social media to say the Dodgers had ruined baseball. The baseball was no longer worth watching. I wouldn't go that far. The problem with the Dodgers, what they did was they deferred a lot of money. All the money's deferred, meaning they don't pay it right away. And a lot of people think that when that money starts to, when it's time to pay the piper, they're going to sell the team. So it's their way of sort of avoiding. That's why I've been calling them the tax dodgers. There was no need to even play the World Series, they said, because LA's stacked roster would produce a record-breaking regular season and steamroll the playoffs. Oddly, New York Mets didn't face the same blowback after signing Juan Soto to a record-breaking $765 million. The Mets long atop baseball's payroll rankings, signaling they would keep spending for a division title and a World Series run. Fast forward to the last few weeks of the 2025 season, and there's no sign baseball is ruined, or that the World Series has already been decided. In fact, it's the opposite. Simply aren't any dominant teams this year. It's the continuation of a slow burn trend that has reached a new peak, and most of baseball social media hasn't noticed. I notice everything. MLB teams struggling as the season winds down. The ruining baseball Dodgers were just swept by the lowly Pirates. Over the last 2 games in Pittsburgh, the Dodgers scored just 4 runs. Now, in the last 3 games, they scored 5 runs. And highly paid free agent starter Blake Snell allowed 5 to 1 of the sport's weakest lineups on Thursday. With a battle for the National League West and a first-round postseason bye on their hands, the Dodgers have gone 14-16. It's now 14-17 over the last 31 games. They're 10-10 in their last 20, 10-11 in the last 21, and 5-6 in their last 11. No NL West team has scored fewer runs since the All-Star break than the Dodgers. Surely they must have been passed for first place in the National League West during that time span by the hard-charging San Diego Padres, who were typically aggressive and in town at the trade deadline, right? Heading to a massive August series in LA, the Padres won 7 of 8. Then they got swept by the Dodgers. Then they went 5-2 against the Giants and Dodgers the following week. Then they lost 5-6 to the Minnesota Twins and Baltimore Orioles, including a sweep by the Orioles at Petco Park. This sounds familiar. It sounds like the way the Mets have played. They're 8-12 in the last 20, somehow worse than the Dodgers. Another aggressive deadline team, the Seattle Mariners, look to be in prime position to capitalize in the AL West, winning 10 of 11 immediately afterward. Then went 6-14. The Mets have been similarly inconsistent, at one point going 2-14, then 8-3 with a sweep of the Phillies before losing 3 of 4 to the Marlins. Out of nowhere, the Rangers and Giants have been 2 of baseball's hottest teams, with Texas going 9-1 in their last 10. Similarly, the Yankees have a string of embarrassing defensive miscues and 3 losses in a row to the Red Sox, are 8-2 in their last 10 and 14-6 in the last 20. What about the Brewers? Well, it's funny you should mention the Brewers. Milwaukee went on a historic run from the middle of May to the middle of August. Unquestionably the best team in baseball, right? Well, As their timely hitting and unbeatable pitching has deserted them, they've gone 5-5 in their last 10 and 9-11 in the last one. This is after that long winning streak they had. The Detroit Tigers, another division leader, are 3-7 in their last 10. They're 12-8 in their last 20. That's 9-1, followed by 3-7. There are 21 of 30 teams that are 5-5 or worse in their last 10 games. Unless the Brewers get hot again and finish 14-7, this will be the second consecutive season of a single team winning 100 games or more. The Dodgers have just wrapped up a stretch of playing to 22-30. Single worst 52-game stretch and sample of manager Dave Roberts' tenure in LA. They're on pace to win just 90 games this year, and still on track to win what was expected to be a highly competitive NL West. This isn't an accident. It's a direct result of how the league has developed over the last few years, the rise of analytics and pitch design, and a reminder of why baseball doesn't need a salary cap to develop parity. They want salary cap for one basic reason. They want to hold back Steve Cohen. That has nothing to do with all this other stuff. When the league instituted new rules ahead of the 23 season, including the pitch clock, the goal is to increase offense and drive more action. It worked. The league averaged 4.28 runs per game in 2022 and jumped to 4.63 in 23. But as pitchers realized how they could work around the clock to give themselves more time, runs per game have crept back down to just 4.39 in 24 and 4.48 in 25. Pitching is dominating because all 30 teams, except the Rockies, have figured out how to use analytics and pitch design to improve their staffs. The gap between good pitchers and average ones might be the smallest it's ever been, especially with relievers, as teams have created factory assembly lines of pitchers who throw 97 to 100 with devastating sweepers, and has closed the gap between teams. Interesting. As a result of that rapidly closing gap, the top seasons by pitching wins by replacement over the last decade have all come before the analytics revolution. According to Fangraphs, the highest rated season by WAR from a pitcher over the past few seasons has been Tariq Skubal, this year with 6.3. Except since 2015, that ranks just 21st among individual pitching seasons, In fact, he's the only pitcher from 2025 to rank in the top 30. 2018's Mets' Jacob deGrom was worth 9.0 WAR, for example. 2015 Clayton Kershaw was worth 8.6. It's simply not possible to be that valuable as a pitcher because the average pitcher has gotten too good. That's what's creating parity. And as an example of how baseball differs from, say, football. Football teams can't do this with quarterbacks. Baseball teams can with pitchers. So why there's no possible way to buy a World Series and why MLB has more parity than the NFL. There's nothing the Cleveland Browns can do to turn someone into Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. But there is a way for the Minnesota Twins to turn Joe Ryan into a star, or the Phillies with Christopher Sanchez, or the Mariners with Brian Woo. Heck, Jose Soriano has been the 18th most valuable pitcher in baseball this year. Even heard of him? No, that's the point. I had not thought about this. This is very interesting. Interesting. This probably takes into account why guys like Clay Holmes has been able to pitch in longer as a starter. This probably makes sense if why guys like Noah McLean has been able to create and design better pitches for himself. Because this was a guy that was a 2-pitch pitcher coming out of college, and a year later, he has probably 6 of the best pitches in the game. And Jonah Tong, who's come out of nowhere as a player that the Mets drafted 2 years ago, and he's a guy that is considered the best pitching prospect in the game. And you can run down all these other pitchers that you would think are, or a guy like Griffin Canning who pitched so poorly in Anaheim for so long, but was the #1 pick by the Angels, and he pitched really well until he got hurt. I gotta think about this. But you let me know what you think about this. Are the average pitchers better than they say 10 years ago? Were they better than they were 20 years ago? I mean, that's something we have to look at. Thank you for watching this video. And of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 2. And I'll see you later.